Welcome to the Better Together podcast, where we look for ways we can work together to advance the gospel of Jesus Christ. Today we have Dr. Kenneth Eagleton, not a stranger to our audience by any means, but today he's putting on a different hat. He's talking about the International Association of Free Will Baptists, which he is the secretary-treasurer of that particular organization. So thank you, Dr. Eagleton, for joining us today.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here with you and to talk about this subject.
Well, we're so glad you're here. And let's just begin by explaining to our audience a little bit about the International Fellowship. What is the International Fellowship of Free Will Baptists?
Well, back in the early 90s, the Worthington brothers, Brother Milton and Brother Melvin, thought it would be a good idea to bring together Free Will Baptists from all over the world. And so in 1992, they had a consultation, invited people to come from the different countries, and in 1992 in Panama, they met. And from that consultation, they decided it would be a good idea to meet on a regular basis every 3 years. And they met again in 1995 in Brazil, and that was when the International Fellowship of Free Will Baptists was officially started. So this movement now is 30 years old.
Wow. So this is really the 30th anniversary now that we think about it.
Yes, at least of the consultation. It wasn't officially organized until 95, but the first time they got together was 30 years ago.
Wow,
yeah.
That's pretty cool. So tell our listeners a bit about who is part of this International Fellowship.
Well, it's if we think about it like the National Association of Free Will Baptists being made up of state associations here in the United States, this is taking it another level up, and it is a fellowship that's made up of national associations of Free Will Baptists from the different countries that we have around the world. And so then they come together for fellowship and to interact with each other.
All right. And so as you think of it, we've got Brazil, you mentioned Panama, Mexico, and Canada, as well as the U.S. And then you've got France and Spain and Bulgaria, right?
Yes.
That's where it's going to be this year.
We actually have 13 different members, member countries. You mentioned several of them there. In North America, we have the U.S., Canada, Mexico, Panama, Brazil, Uruguay, Cuba, Ivory Coast, France, Spain, Bulgaria, which is our newest member. They became members at the last meeting, India, and Japan. And this year, we have Free Will Baptists that will be meeting with us. We hope that they will be able to make it to the meeting from Pakistan and Bangladesh, and possibly, be joining the association or the fellowship as well.
Very good. So you refer to it as a fellowship, which it is.
Yes.
Christians coming together, Free Will Baptists coming together from all over the world. Mm-hmm. What are some of the other things the International Fellowship does?
Well, besides the fellowship and just exchanging information and being able to encourage each other, because in some countries we are still very small, and sometimes Free Will Baptists, they feel like, they're alone and small. But when they get together with Free Will Baptists from other countries and see that we are a much larger family and that there is a lot going on, we often see that they are very encouraged by what they see. So besides the fellowship, there's also a discussion that goes on about solutions to ethical situations, practical, how do you do ministry in your country, learning from each other, and seeing even maybe some doctrinal issues might be discussed. We also would like to promote more evangelism, world evangelism, and promote the development of theological training in each country. We know that our doctrinal position is somewhat unique, and many times there are not those resources in the different countries. And so we're hoping that the International Fellowship will serve as a facilitator for us to set up more training and there be more interaction between our countries as far as helping each other with training, theological training.
And that's been kind of important during the pandemic. There's been some sharing back and forth about the different situations in various countries, and there's been a little bit of that already, hasn't there?
It has. And in fact, this will be the first time that the meeting itself should be, if we're able to work out all the technical issues, we should be able to transmit the meeting live to those that are not able to be there personally. So it will give us an opportunity. The internet has opened up many opportunities for training, as well as just being able to share things. We now have a Facebook page too, where a lot of information is exchanged about what's going on in different countries. And so, that is opening up a big door of opportunity for us.
So you mentioned this year meeting in Bulgaria.
Yes.
So what are some of the things you're expecting to happen at this meeting? Hopefully Bangladesh comes along, Pakistan.
Yes.
What else are we looking for in September?
Yes, the meeting in September, specifically the International Fellowship will be meeting from the 6th through the 10th of September. Before the International Fellowship meeting, the churches in Bulgaria will be meeting for their national association, so to speak, and they have invited all the international guests to come early and attend their meeting and then stay for the International Fellowship meeting. The International Fellowship meeting ends on a Saturday morning, and then those that are there, they will be divided into different groups that will go to different churches, different of our churches in Bulgaria. And so we will get to experience being in church in one of our Free Will Baptist churches there in Bulgaria that weekend before everybody leaves on Monday.
So it's going to be an exciting time. It's exciting for Bulgaria. It's exciting for hopefully some of the new members, and then everyone seeing what's happening throughout. I'm a listener. How can I be involved? How could I assist the International Fellowship?
Well, one of the ways, first of all, is to look up the International Fellowship page on Facebook and become informed of the different countries in which we have Free Will Baptist churches and the different prayer requests that are put there, the different things that are news items, so become informed about what's going on in different places. We can also contribute to the International Fellowship because the countries, they have their dues that they pay. For some countries, even though it's only $240 a year, for some countries that's a little difficult. And so we do help out those countries that have difficulty in sending their representatives, so they can also contribute. Anybody that wants to can contribute to the International Fellowship. That would be very helpful. But especially pray for this meeting. As each country sends their delegates, one big prayer request right now before the meeting is that we have at least 2, maybe 3 delegates from countries that are having difficulty getting their visas to go to the meeting. So please pray for the representatives from Cuba, from Ivory Coast, and from Pakistan. They're right now in the visa process. And there have been some complications in getting the documentation, and a couple of the countries don't have an embassy, Bulgarian embassy in their country, so they have to go somewhere else to get the visa. So it's a little complicated, so pray for them.
That's good. So people can give, people can be informed, and really pray, and especially for this, the last that you mentioned, that these folks will be able to come and be able to participate. And because they can sometimes not know until almost the last minute.
Exactly.
It makes it all the more difficult when they're trying to travel and get to a particular place.
Yes. And during the meeting, we will be having, in the evenings, we will be having sessions where we have asked speakers to speak on a particular subject, and then we will have a roundtable discussion with all of those present concerning that subject. But we will also have times in which we will hear reports from the countries, and then after the report, we will be praying for that country and for their needs. We will have times in which it will be sort of free time, so to speak, but for connection, so that the delegates can get together and can talk about one-on-one about issues. And we will finish up with a service with communion and feet washing, which is always a highlight of the meeting.
That's great. And so most of our listeners will not be able to attend.
True.
But if it works out, they'll be able to watch on the Facebook page, hopefully.
Yes.
And no matter where you're at, you
Right.
can pray for what's happening with the International Fellowship and be part of something much bigger than ourselves wherever we might be listening.
True. Mm-hmm.
Hey, well, we appreciate the good work you're doing with this, Dr. Eagleton, and we just encourage you to keep up the good work, and we encourage our listeners, if they will, get involved, pay attention to what's happening on the Facebook page, and we'll get you to share that one more time to be thinking about maybe being able to give and also praying for this important ministry. How can they find that Facebook page once more?
You can type in International Fellowship of Free Will Baptist Churches or just IFOFWBC, just the initials.
Yes.
And you can find it as well.
IFOFWBC. It's
Right.
It's a lot of letters.
A lot of letters.
But either way works, and we encourage folks to follow us there.
Yes.
Well, thank you for joining us today, my friend.
Thank you.
And we want to thank you, our listeners. We encourage you to take this podcast, share it with folks that it might be of interest to them. And remember, we truly are better when we work together to spread the gospel of Jesus Christ.